everyone. I call this meeting the Burlington County Board of Trustees Freeholder to order. Please rise for the flag salute and please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, help us to be receptive to the thoughts and challenges that come to us through prayer, through the printed page, and from the world around us. And help our leaders to find the best solutions to the problems that we face. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided. I direct the Deputy Clerk to enter into the minutes of this meeting this public announcement and the advance written notice of this meeting. Freeholder Arter.
Present.
Freeholder Belver.
Here.
Freeholder Howard.
Present.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Here.
And Freeholder Director Donald.
Present. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for adoption of the regular minute meetings of January 9 and January 23 as revised. Thank you. Moved by Freeholder Howard.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Belgard. Any discussion? All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Public minute meetings are adopted. This time, I'll entertain a motion on the conference meeting minutes of January 16th and January 23rd.
So
Thank you. Moved by Freeholder Howard.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
On the portion I was present for the 23rd.
As noted. So she's voting yes to when she was here. Minutes are adopted. This time, I'll ask John Camden to come up and join me, please. John this year is the winner. John attends BCIT, and he is the winner this year of the New Jersey Association of Counties Public Service Electric and Gas Scholarship Program. They give one winner each year in each county, the public service territory, a scholarship for $550 towards continuing their education. John is in the HVAC program. Come on, give it. John's in the HVAC program right now at BCIT, and he's moving on next year to study at Burlington County College in green energy, which is a career that, quite frankly, will have a great impact on our future. You know, why a lot of folks think that the economy is contracting right now, and I guess to a degree it is. Green energy and green technology is something that is, in fact, expanding, and I think will continue to expand for a number of years. So, John, it is my privilege to present you this letter of recognition, as well as a check for you to continue your education at BCC. Congratulations. Sure.
Oh, sure.
absolutely.
This time I'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to comment on agenda items, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
Meeting for the Freeholder of Burlington. I have 4 comments. My first comment is ordering that comment K was on the for a trustee service. If someone applied for, let's say, to that position once, you were approved for that person, so we have to wait for that approval.
Well, I'm going to take this up right now. Actually, it's something I was going to wait till later in the meeting. I am going to pull letter K from our agenda this evening because I want further clarification. I think it was either Freeholder Belver or Freeholder Schwartz, I can't remember which, last week that asked about process on this, and I want further clarification on process. If you're interested in going and applying, by all means, get something to the county administrator.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Agenda number 3. Is identified.
Yeah, I mean, This is a ministerial act. What we're doing is simply decreasing the amount of petty cash that's available from $250 down to $150. This one is for health. When we merged a number of departments together, we're going to be making one super department. So what this is an administrative act allowing us to get the petty cash managed by the right department.
Next one is number 7.
What this does, it authorizes, I'm sorry, I left the other. What this does, it authorizes the board to implement an interest arbitration award that was awarded by an arbitrator at the state level between the county and the corrections officers on behalf of the county.
And the last one is number 14.
This is a loan and mortgage approval through the Human Services Department and the Office of Community Development. And it's through the block grant program, and it is for a home improvement that comes under a qualification of that program.
For the block program, that's been approved since the block grant has been approved since the beginning of the year.
You're asking which?
Not for that, the program has been approved since the beginning of the year.
I'm not sure.
Since the first of January, had more surveys.
When did they submit the application?
Yeah.
Or how long the program's been in existence?
Yeah.
It has been for years.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, okay.
and my question is, question on A, on our prayer thought, I don't know what's the difference between the prayer from the Freeholder and the prayer from the Manhattan Township. I want to know why, what's the difference. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further public comment on agenda items? Hearing none, I'll close this portion of the meeting and move on to resolutions. At this time, I would move for unanimous consent of resolution items number 1 through 9. Is there a second? Seconded by Freeholder Howard. Go ahead.
Mr. Director, if I could, I would like to move to remove agenda items 1, 5, 8, and 9 from the consent agenda.
One more time.
1, 5, 8, and 9.
Very good. All right.
Thank you.
I think numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 are in consideration now, right now. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Those resolutions are adopted. You got them, Jim? All right, we'll move on to resolution number 1, singularly. Any comment? It's been moved and seconded already. Yes.
I don't think it was seconded.
It wasn't seconded.
So I move to remove items 1, 5, 8, and 9.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes. Should we start with number 1?
Makes the most sense.
Okay, great. So I have a couple questions. I tried to limit them as much as possible. Edward, I think my questions are probably going to be for you on the bill list.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think there's 138 pages, if I'm not mistaken, of bills, so bear with me. I really did try to narrow this down. Do you have the bill list?
I do.
Okay, great. On page 6, this is sort of recurring throughout this. I kept seeing claims, health insurance claims. So on page 6, there's an item there for over $400,000 health insurance claims. Can you just explain to me about that?
Yes, Freeholder, that is the claims that we pay for our county employees for our health insurance.
Okay, so those are, that's not a premium or something like that.
No,
Those are
they're not.
actual health
We
claims.
are
We're
self-insured.
Right. Okay. So then on the next page, just following that item on there, on page 7, there are administrative fees, and are those administrative fees relating to these health claims? Is that
Yes,
what that is?
yes, there's
Okay.
a charge per employee per month.
And then what's the separate item? It would be the third one down on page 7. There's another claims for health insurance there. So why is that
The
separate?
$211,000?
What's that?
The $211,000?
Yes.
Basically what happens is, this is a accumulation of claims that have come through several weeks, and they're paid individually.
The
So-
different time periods, or?
for different time periods.
Okay. All right, that may help eliminate quite a few of my questions, so thank you for that. Bear with me. Page 21. About 2/3 down the page, there's Camden County Health Services. What is that for? And that's, that number is $6,574.
I believe this is in human services. I believe this is the charity payments that we make for social services.
Do we have like some kind of shared service with Camden County, or?
It is, and there, I'll get some more information for that, but I know that it's out of that area.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind getting back to me on that, that would be great.
Okay.
And then just below that, there's also an entry for Camden County College.
Yes, I'll check on that as well.
I'm assuming that's also some kind of shared service, but, you know, I'd just like more information.
The Camden County College, I can, this is a grant out of WIB. So we're paying for some kind of tuition or some kind of training out of that school that's not available anywhere else. But I'll get some more detail on it.
Okay, great. On page 39, the top entry is for Express Scripts. I'm assuming that must be for health prescriptions, is that what that is?
It's our new pharmaceutical plan that went into effect on January 1st.
And so is this a payout of prescription claims, is that what that is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving right along.
Excuse me, Express Scripts is now what Medco was, is that the changes?
What Med Impact was, yes. It's our new provider for prescriptions effective January 1st.
On page 57, the second entry is Innovative Staffing and Bus somethings, CONC, whatever that is.
It's also WIB, it's a job training.
Okay. Page 63, the second entry, Services for J. Vanderschreier. What is that?
This is medical contracts, I'm trying to see. I'll have to check into that exactly.
Okay. If you could just get back to me on that, that would be great. I'm almost done.
Okay.
Page 87, about 2/3 down. Parker McKay, professional services rendered. The bond counsel one I get, but the one above that, it says B, or it says audit. What exactly was that?
The audit may be a bit of a misnomer, it's just the way it's classified in. They were helping us to do some analysis. I think this still has to pertain to Buttonwood, but the audit is a misnomer. It's not actually an auditing function, it's just the way the Edmonds comes up with that title.
Okay.
That's the cost report for 2000?
It's not the cost report, it was just some work they were doing with us.
But have you completed the
The cost report is finished.
Is finished?
It is, ma'am.
Is that fiscal or calendar year? Do you know?
It is on the calendar year.
So just to go back, you think that this was some sort of legal services relating to
It
Buttonwood?
is legal services, yes,
Okay. And is that, are those legal services done now for Buttonwood?
they are.
And page 89, I think this is my last one. Also about 2/3 down, Canoni Associates, professional services. What type of professional services is that?
I'm assuming, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm assuming it's the design services for the circle in Chesterfield.
Okay, it's $6,611, if that helps refresh your recollection at
It
all?
sounds about like a progress payment.
Okay. Those are all the questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So that was just number one.
I'm going to take them individually.
Okay, great.
All right, is there a motion on resolution number one? Well, I'll move resolution number one. Is there a second? Second by Freeholder Howard. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution's adopted. Moving on to number two.
I think it was fine.
I beg your pardon, it is fine.
Okay, so, number 5 had to do with a contract for the tree planting bid regarding the New Jersey Turnpike out in Mansfield. And thank you to Bill Stewart for giving me further information on that. I do appreciate that. I just had a question because I noticed on the bid sheet that there were 2 companies that had bid that were from Burlington County, but it looks like they didn't make the cut, and I'm just wondering what the process is there, because I know that we want to encourage sort of this buy local program that Freeholder Director Donnelly spoke about during the reorganization in the county. And I think that the Freeholder should probably be the examples in that regard when we can be. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a way to kind of encourage more Burlington County bidders, or when we have an issue, maybe rebid if there are Burlington County bidders that sort of missed one of the requirements. I don't know.
That's a mouthful. I mean,
Yeah, it is,
really,
yeah.
The reality, I mean, Pete's office issued an opinion this afternoon about residency
Yes.
and bidding that way. But there's also a statute out there on the bid laws, and this was a bid contract, so we're obligated to take the most responsible bidder. I love the concept of encouraging more local firms to bid, but at the end of the day, they still need to come in with a low number. And I don't know that we have the right, and actually procurement would know this better than I, simply based upon the fact that it was a non-Burlington County lowest responsible bidder, we can't exclude them and go back out there and rebid the work, correct?
No, yeah, I believe that's correct.
No, and I understand that, but so there were 2 bidders on here that it just looked like they may have just missed out on the process because there was something missing or incomplete, and I'm wondering if that would be a reason to go back out to bid on it?
Director, if I may, I have the bids here, and the winning bid, and it's public now, the winning bid was Turkscapes. They were out of Gloucester County. This was to plant a lot of trees. The winning bid was $1,003,447, and it went to as high as $1,817,890. It was a good contract. If you could tell me the 2 firms, that was the Burlington firms, I could tell you where they came in.
Oh, that would be great. So they were
We have it here.
Gowers, and yeah, it looks like, yeah, that looks like $1.2 million, and then Chesterfield looks like it was $1.5 million. So they still, so even if they had properly completed the bid process, it looks like they still wouldn't have been a low bidder. So it does sort of make it a moot point.
It was a total low bid, and all the vendors were checked and were qualified. So
Okay.
no one was tossed out for that reason.
Okay. Now, I do also have a question with regard to.
Amy, are you going to go into another, because I still have a question about the trees.
Yeah, no, this is still the
Okay.
same one. So the bid included the base bid and the alternate,
Yes.
and I'm not exactly sure what is the alternate for.
It was decided to bid this contract out and have an alternate provision in it. The alternate pricing was to stake 2,000 trees and to provide topsoil. They didn't know if that was going to be necessary, so they didn't put it in the original amount.
Okay.
They decided to break it apart,
So if need be.
if need be basis.
And with the total lump sum here of just over $1 million, we're within that grant price.
Yes, there was $1,777,000 available in it, so we are well within it, and we were very happy with this bid.
Okay. That's all the questions I have on that one.
I have one. Amy took my one about the alternative. The other question I had, I'm looking at all the trees and the prices. However, there's 33. I have no idea what kind of tree this is, unless it's some kind of magnolia. Fagus grandiflora, 33 to $206, and it looks like the average is probably about 150, 160. I'm wondering why we have those very expensive trees.
Are you a tree
Where are they?
person?
I am not a tree person, but under the Know That Lost program, we're given a list of species of trees that we can get out and plant. And we had a landscape architect that did design for us of every location that the trees are going to be planted in. So we thought that some of them would be more expensive than others. Very dependent upon whether you were dealing with a shrub or certain species of trees, but we were not permitted to to spec out trees that were over a certain caliber. They all had to be very small trees. I'm sure whatever was selected was done for aesthetics in mind, and we could not actually exceed a certain amount per tree, including cost to purchase, install, and maintain over a 2-year period.
And I have another question, which you probably don't have an answer for tonight, but if we could look into, are we putting any deer guards around the trees? We're spending a lot of money on trees, which the deer, I'm sure, would love to eat. Do we have any, can we go back and make sure we have the trees protected from destruction by the deer?
Yeah, I think we're going to need to do that in certain cases.
Mary Pat, if you would, just for everyone's education, this funding is coming from the New Jersey Turnpike Authority
Yes, it comes from the Turnpike Authority through the DEP.
as a result of,
The Turnpike widening, and there's a state law that requires that the state agency destroys trees in the process of doing any type of construction. They must provide for the replanting of an equal number of trees. So in Mansfield Township, when the Turnpike did its widening project, they lost significant acreage of trees. And as a result, we have a grant that will provide for the planting of 6,700 trees.
Now, my understanding is some of these trees are going into the county parks as well.
That's correct. The trees have to stay within a certain radius of the disturbed area. So we were fortunate that there is one county park that clearly is within the radius, and that's Crystal Lake. But the DEP has also allowed us to plant trees at the fairground. But there are also many spots in Mansfield Township, schools and community parks for the trees.
and at this time, we'll enter a motion for resolution number 5. So, moved by Freeholder Howard, is there a second? Second by Freeholder Harder. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution is adopted. Moving on to number 8.
Okay. Number 8 was the personnel action. I guess this was the positions that have been approved by New Jersey Civil Service. So I just wanted to make sure a lot of these dates on this were dated back in 2012. These folks are already in these positions, is that right?
Or in process. Some of them have a longer screening process than others.
Okay.
You know, so law enforcement, it takes a lot longer to get someone hired than it may over in public works. For example.
Okay, well, so like I noticed that there were a couple Buttonwood positions on here. So I'm assuming that like the receptionist, telephone operator for Buttonwood Hospital commenced duties on 3/5/12. That's not still a county employee,
No,
right?
no.
Okay. All right. So we're kind of just,
It's housekeeping.
yeah, it's we're sort of backdating this, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all I have on that one.
Anything further on number 8? Hearing nothing, I'll move for adoption of number 8. Is there a second? So moved. Second by Freeholder Howard. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution is adopted. Number 9.
Okay, number 9 is with regard to positions that are being created or abolished. With regard to information technology, there are 3 positions that are being proposed to abolish. I'm just wondering, and then there's 1 being created. So I'm just wondering what's happening to these 3 that are being abolished. Are those people being let go, retiring, what's happening, or they're not currently filled those positions? What's happening now?
If I can help with this, Dan is not, he's out of the country at the moment, and he gave me some notes on this. His information on that is the prior authorization was given to hire a network administrator. We needed to create the position and eliminate the other vacancies to the department. No longer wishes to fill, so they are vacant positions.
Oh, okay, great. And then I also had a question with regard to the public works position, that county division head. We're creating a county division head and abolishing a confidential assistant. So what's the, why is there a need there for a county division head and not a confidential assistant?
Well, that's not in my notes. It's the,
Actually, I just,
that's the
I'll take it from recollection. It's a more appropriate title. The gentleman who sits in that role is actually the assistant county engineer.
I'm sorry?
Assistant county engineer.
Okay.
And he was sitting in the role of a confidential assistant. It's more
Okay.
appropriate to make him a division rather than have him sit in a confidential role.
Now, does that change salary at all?
Well, he was promoted also, yes.
Okay, do you know what the change in salary is?
For the percentage sell, without the exact number, but it might be confidential, if you could just tell us the percentage was?
I can get it, I don't know, I don't recollect what it was, and
I
I
got
was
that as well.
I'd be guessing if I were to try and guess for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and just next time, if that's something that I would like to have in advance.
That's
You know,
right.
for-
Anything further on number 9? Hearing nothing, I will move for adoption of number 9. Is there a second? Second by Freeholder Schwartz. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Freeholder Arder?
Yes, thank you, Freeholder Director. At this time, I would like to move for adoption of items 10 through 18.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Arder, seconded by Freeholder Howard. Any discussion?
I'm wondering if you could explain the number 15, I think for the people who are here when we see this videotape of this, can you explain that program? I don't know that everybody in our county are aware of that.
Yes, we have a emergency heater replacement program, and you can apply for that under the Urban Development Block Program through the Department of Human Services and the Community Development Office. And it's based on need.
Anything further? Hearing nothing, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Freeholder Howard.
Thank you, Director. At this time, I would like to move the unanimous consent resolutions 19 through 25.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Moved by Freeholder Howard, seconded by Freeholder Harder. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Freeholder Schwartz.
I'd like to propose passage of resolutions number 26, 27, and 28.
Thank you.
However, I also would like to see Holly here. Holly, could you discuss again for the group here, item number 27?
May we get a second? Get it on
Sorry.
the table first. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Freeholder Schwartz, seconded by Freeholder Howard. Holly, you're on.
Freeholder Schwartz asked me to explain resolution number 27. Basically, the health department is signing a memorandum of understanding with the joint base that in the event of public health emergency, we would assist them in distributing antibiotics, giving vaccine to the individuals stationed there, the contractors, the families, all on the base. It wouldn't require any additional manpower from us. They would actually come obtain the supplies from us, be responsible for the individuals on the base, and all the supplies come from the federal government, so there's no additional costs to the county.
Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolutions are adopted. As I said earlier, letter K was removed. Moving on to letter L, appointments by the Director to the Advisory Council on Women for the year of 2013. Susan Bowker, Lisa Dozier Daniel, Cindy Lamont, Diane Mills McKay, Joanne Marino, Kathleen McGill Gaskell, who's here with us this evening, Carla Reyes, Sharon Scott Rogers, Patricia Steele, Dolores Zemansky, Julia Wittenberg, and Dolores Whittington. This time we'll take questions from the press.
Just on the trees real quickly, the bulk of those trees stayed in Mansfield through either in the county park or elsewhere? Yeah. And there's no cost share at all from the county?
No,
That's
what I think
all
Edward said was
state.
we had up to 1.7 million, right? We actually came out with 1,003,000, so we're on the good side of that. There is no cost share now.
Okay. And just on number 27, the agreement with joint base, is that something new, or is that in the past, or?
We did have agreements in the past. It was changed back in 2011. Prior to 2011, the base had said, you don't need to worry about us, we'll take care of ourselves. In 2011, DOD issued a memo that said basically the bases needed to partner with their local communities. Because at that point in time, it now is a joint base with McGuire, Fort Bend, and Lakehurst. We actually have brought Ocean County into the picture as well, so that we have a clear plan of how we would assist the base in the public health emergency.
So this kind of formalizes that? Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll open the meeting to the public, not just on agenda items, but any items anyone wants. Please come forward. State, yes, ma'am. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Janice Kingsbury from Mount Laurel. I had worked with previous freeholders to try and promote the exercise area for the shelter, for the Burlington County shelter. I understood that it was approved. I've raised $3,000 or $4,000 to contribute to exercise equipment for the project, and I just wanted to inquire as to the status of that project.
For the animal shelter?
Yes.
Last I heard, our buildings and grounds had been up there to take a look at it. They were going back to design some plans to figure out what would work best with the shelter layout configurations, with adding actually some multiple runs and open play areas. Yeah.
If you would leave your number, and we'll get you a more
We'll get
comprehensive answer,
Yes.
afterwards.
Okay.
I
That's,
do
you
know
know,
that just within the start of the year, they were up there looking at how to design it.
And we're still looking at a 200 by 200 area?
I don't know the exact specifications.
We'll get that enough for you.
Okay, great.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
William Love, 8 Barbary Leagues in Medford, New Jersey. I would just like to discuss, get Andy's down, this is just a little, I'd like to discuss the Pineland Library situation. This is part of that. It seems to me that this whole conversation about the Pinelands is sort of getting out of control a little bit, and to say the least. We love our library down there in Medford. Reading is the basis of all knowledge and so forth in this whole country. So it's important that the libraries maintain itself. That's there. So I have an idea that maybe there's a solution to this at hand that really won't cost anybody anything more than they're already paying. So what I've done here is just to go back in time and talk about what's happened to the county library system. And I'm all for the county library system. But what happens here is that the library rate is approximately 3 cents, which is, I think, sort of mandated by state law. All right, 3.2. If I go astray here, please correct me. So that regardless of what the ratables are, within reason, we're going to have this 3-cent tax whether the library needs it or it's short or whatever. It really doesn't matter. So what happened was during the real estate bubble, approximately from 2000, 1 up to 2007, when value skyrocketed, Medford's share of the county library system went from $600,000 to $1 million for the same library. So a lot of money came in to the county. They were flush as the ratables went up, because there's an automatic increase, sort of like the open space tax. It's 4 cents on whatever the ratables are. So we had this big, and so what happened with the money, and I'm not complaining, I think we built an amphitheater, we built this and did that and everything else. But unfortunately, the library down in Medford is the same old little library that we love and cherish and have had forever. So now all of a sudden we got this $1 million vacancy. I think it's been quoted that the direct cost of $600 doesn't include everything. I'm not even going to argue that point. So, because there's a big consternation of $30,000 of the maintenance expense, and why are we paying that? Bordentown doesn't pay it, and, you know, this nonsense gets back and forth. Sure.
Just jump in, sorry, Freeholder.
Well, I think you're the director of the Freeholder for the library, so
Yeah, Bordentown isn't an apples to apples comparison, because at a certain point in time, Bordentown came forward with a cash and property transfer and became part, it became Burlington County.
maybe that's one of the solutions.
And we have sent out a proposal to Medford today, to all the Medford council people, and to all the mayors of each of the municipalities in the Highlands serving area. It's stating our proposal for the Highlands Branch Library contract for this year, which is what we have stated before, a reimbursement up to $30,000 for this year. But then also to look at the Highlands Branch Library itself and have both the county and Medford work towards each giving our share to working towards making that library a better asset for the communities that it services, namely by bringing it into the 21st century, by remodeling the space to have a reading area where people can come in and pull a book off the shelf, sit down and read, have a better program area for programs for children, et cetera, that take place in a better electronic area for computers and internet access and being able to download e-books. And we feel like that we put a proposal out there, and we look forward to Bedford Council having public meetings on your end to discuss it and hear feedback from the community, and we'll be able to move forward from there, because we want to make sure the Highlands Branch Library is able to provide the best service possible.
And I applaud you for that. And it is a terrific thing. I know that my wife watches some of our grandchildren, and we have one first grader who, you know, the time she was 4 by going to the library, she's a perfect reader. Their first grade teachers can't imagine this kid's reading way above the first grade level, challenges the teachers. And that was all because of the library. But it isn't big enough, and so forth. All right. So we're working on that, but we know we have this little library. So here's what I wanted to know, and this is just a thought, that I threw out the open space tax of 4 cents, and that's approximately $20 million a year, approximately. And what's happened the last few years is about $5 million of that has been given as grants to the different towns.
For open space improvements, or purchasing of open space.
Yeah, or capital improvements for recreation and so forth. And if you take a look at the list that I've given to you, which is really from your website, dated in October, it sort of listed $15 million for the 3-year period, approximately $5 million. Okay. And really, when some of the releases that went out, it talked about new recreational facilities or improvements to local facilities. And so I guess what I'm sort of asking is, if I take a look at this list that are here, you know, active recreation facilities, some are nature things, some aren't, some are lights and so forth, but if I take a broad context of that, Medford's paying about $1.3 million a year open space tax.
Okay.
All right. So if we just said 1 penny of that, or 25%, because that's what we're given, you would say that, all right, to this $5 million, Medford's given approximately $325,000, $350,000 a year. So for the last 3 years, we probably have given $1 million of that toward this, you know, $15 million. And when we take a look at what we've garnered $347,000 out of the $1 million toward this $15 million. And it's for a skate park, which in my view is problematic from a liability and everything else. I mean, what's more valuable to a community, a library or a skate? But I understand.
It's up to the community to decide what they're applying for.
Absolutely.
And you can apply every year, and I'm not sure how many years Medford has. Pardon?
Yeah.
I believe they
I really
did not apply.
And shame on them. or shame on me, okay? Because I did raise a question, and it's kind of stupid.
But also what you're limited by the definition of what is
Well,
money.
that's what I'm gonna get to. If in fact we're gonna continue with this $5 million, you don't really have to have a 4-cent tax. What the voters voted for was up to 4 cents. So one solution could be is maybe we charge 3 cents. There's a 1 cent tax for everybody that's out there. Netford might say, all right, instead of us $325,000, let's take that $325,000. Let's go to a new library or build a bigger library with the same dollars. So nobody's taxes are increasing. Or could we get an agreement with the Freeholder Board if we could look at this? I mean, what's more passive than a library? All right, so.
I'm not an attorney.
Well, you don't have to be an attorney.
No,
Let's
I
just think of what
understand
makes
what you're
sense here, because you take a look at these projects I just gave you. That's a stretch. I mean, we're putting lights on baseball fields, we're doing this. I'm not arguing with it, but I'm just saying, this is not exactly buying land.
Nor was it intended to
Yes.
be. It actually was intended to be active recreation improvements.
All right.
Then the community also had the choice if they wanted to make open space acquisitions. They had that.
Yeah, and part of that is even with Metro. Part of it was escape, and part of it was coming.
The active recreation is what that's what this was.
So I guess.
So lights fit in perfectly.
Yeah, okay, so I guess what I'm asking for is, if we put in our grant money, and I think it limited it to $250, even though our one says substantially more than that, could we sort of think about taking that $250,000 with the agreement that we'll upgrade our library? Well, why can't we do it?
It's because what you're doing is you're looking at an ordinance and that was passed by the people of the county for open space recreation active use, and you want to take that money and put it towards something else. And in government, you really can't commingle money. So we could, you know, you could decrease things, but you can't take the excess money and put it towards a library because it's not active recreation.
Libraries don't actually doing anything. You pick up a book, you're doing this. Well, okay. Instead of saying no, I wasn't coming here with an expectation that it was going to be
You just
slam
asked
dunk.
if we could take that money and move it over.
But you already said
it's
no.
not allowed it's not allowed by statute, Pete.
The statute that applies in this case with regard to the 4-cent tax approved by the voters ties into the recreational master plan that was adopted by the county, and it uses that money with regard to active recreation. And that's where the freeholders approve of these funds being used. And by statute, as the freeholder indicated, that is the purpose of those monies. That was the purpose of that tax levy that was permitted, which was approved by the voters. So it would not be proper under the state statutes to take money for active recreation to use for any other purpose unless it's covered by that statute. And a library rehabilitation, expansion, improvement is not within the purview of active recreation. It's defined in the...
I hear what you're saying, okay? But as we all know, it's tough times. So we can build a grandstand at a baseball park and use the money. I mean, I'm talking about another town. We can put lights on the field. I mean, you take a look at all these things that are here, and that's all permitted in the law. Well, maybe there's something wrong with the law. So, I mean, there's no, my problem is there's no common sense here.
It's a state law. The freeholders have no discretion.
I hear you. I didn't say it was your law. So I guess what I'm saying here is maybe there's some way here without raising taxes on anybody. Or I'll go back to my alternative. The freeholders have within their purview is only charging 3 cents. That way, the whole county gets $5 million less taxes to pay. And maybe we'll decide with that penny, you know, an additional tax, and we'll put it to the library. Well, I'm suggesting I came up with an idea of being argumentative without anything.
And I appreciate that.
All right, so.
And it's good to have dialogue. Dialogue is important, and I appreciate you coming out with a constructive idea to try and solve the situation. And I hope as we move forward with Medford, with this situation, we continue to have that type of constructive dialogue, and that we'll come to a resolution that to everyone's satisfaction.
All right. So I'm going to leave this challenge. I think what I would like is for maybe people to noodle with this and say, yeah, I mean, the money's out there. Why are we giving the $5 million to the town? Because they got difficult budgets. It even says it in the press release. So let's try to figure out, can Medford have their one penny, or $250,000, which is less than a penny, to solve a problem that we all acknowledge that we have, and create a better library, which I think is more important than grandstands and skateboard parks and some of the other things that are on here, not the meeting app. That's there. So that's my pitch, and I hope you'll take that under consideration, and maybe we can talk again about it. And maybe there's a way, and if we have to go to Scott Rutter or somebody that's, you know, can we tweak the law a little bit? That'll take a long time. But let's try to work this thing out together. And do I have a commitment we're not going to close the library?
We are the library.
I'd like to have a commitment. I think I heard it last year. We're not going to close the Pineland Library.
We will have library service in the Pineland service area, yes.
The service area.
Yes, in the Pinelands area.
Is Evesham Township considered that? I don't want to mix words here, but, you know, I know they got that big, beautiful thing. Is that part of the Pinelands? I'm not a lawyer either, but I listen.
My goal as the liaison to the library system is to come to a resolution with Medford to keep the library open in the Pinelands area to everyone's satisfaction.
In Medford.
And I'm one half of the situation here moving forward, and that's my position. I would like to keep that library.
Right, I got 5 freeholders. Can I ask their opinion? Are we going to have our Medford library, since we're paying a pretty good share here? And I heard what you said about the $2 million of Mount Laurel. It goes back to this archaic law about the 3 cents. All right, so if we can have our library, and I realize you'll start with, it's not going to be more than the $962,000, but we're only spending $500,000 in direct costs. It's not going to take that long to build that up. Because I sense I came here with a solution, but I don't feel warm and cozy here, other than yourself saying Medford's going to have their library.
But the one other thing to understand is that the dedicated library tax is for the entire system.
I get it.
But if a house assessed at $200,000 pays a dedicated library tax of around $60 a year.
I understand.
And if they go online and they download 2 bestseller ebooks, 2 or 3 bestseller ebooks, they have recouped what they paid in their library tax without ever stepping into a library.
I hate to argue with you, but I'm not talking about that. I'm
I
trying to get a commitment here. Are we going to keep the library? And I'm not getting a warm and fuzzy feeling.
I've been working towards that, and we have been trying to do it.
Can we take a poll the other field? Are we going to keep the library open in Medford?
But that's up to the director if he wants to poll.
This is public comment. Feel free to comment.
All right. My question is to the Freeholder board: are we going to maintain? Are we going to have a Medford library, or are we going to have some big problem here? I'll ask each one of you: are we going to maintain? Are we going to keep Are we going to keep a county library in Medford? Say yes or no. This is not a trick question.
It's not a trick question. I think, quite frankly, Freeholder Arnold answered it very well.
No, she did.
We're working.
She says in the Pinelands area. There's a big Pinelands area.
There is a large Pinelands area, and we have been working towards that. And we put out today to Medford an agreement from us that we're hoping Medford will go back, discuss, see whether or not they can commit to it. The residents, talk about their residents, and then it goes back to the library commission to be executed.
Well, I haven't seen the letter, but it sounds like you're playing hard here.
Well, here's
I'm
the
trying
letter.
I'm trying to come up with a solution.
It's on our website.
And I can't get a commitment that we're going to keep our library, which has been there a long time. You know, and I hope the plan is not, well, you got Evesham down the road, we'll just use that.
No,
all right?
That has not been in our discussions at all going forward. The goal has been to maintain the Pinelands Branch Library, and we're at the point now where we have given an agreement to Medford, and we are asking Medford to look at the library, look at its shortcomings, and we have to come up with a plan to deal with it.
I agree with
that. And that is what I would like to do. And now the other half is working with Medford and getting that done.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. You know, I'm still uncomfortable with the conversation, and I think I came up with a solution.
Thank you for your comments.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You're always a tough guy to follow, Mr. Love.
Thank you. I guess it's a compliment.
It is. It's a compliment.
You know?
My name is Chris DeSantis, and I live in Medford as well, and I would like to touch on the same ever-popular topic of the library. I would also like to discuss the taxation as a whole. You brought about the open space situation, about we had some excess money and we granted back the application to Medford, I think $250,000 for the escape room. My understanding is that, you know, that we had an excess amount of money in that open space fund, and we applied for the money based on what our allotment was, but, you know, we only got the $250,000 instead of really whatever the share of Medford's portion of the taxes paid were.
That connection is based on each municipality being able to apply for a grant up to $250,000 and it's open every year. And I believe Medford applied once or twice out of the multiple years. Twice out of the multiple years that they've been able to do that. And
I understand completely what the thing is. My point is this. If Medford pays, let's just say, for example, if it's $1 million, let's keep the numbers easy. If Medford pays 10% of that money into the system, is $100,000 for the sake of debate. And there's 10% money left over at the end of the year that you want to block grant out, which leaves $100,000. Why wouldn't Medford just be block granted the 10% back? Why do we have to apply for money that is rightfully ours?
Well, I think that gets to a bigger philosophical question.
Well, that is a philosophical question. That's why I'm asking.
Just for my edification. So if Medford were to use, let's say, 40% of the 911 services in the county, yet they only paid for 10% of them, do we stop at a certain point in time or no?
That's not even a similar debate. There's an excess amount of money at the end. You're charging us for a service for the 911 service.
We don't charge, it's a tax, it's part of the
Well,
village.
it's part of the service. But I'm saying you are collecting an amount of money for a certain program, in which you say at the end there's X amount of money to come back.
and the program was voted on by all of the county. It went out on a referendum. The county adopted it, and it's up to a 4% tax for open space.
Okay, correct. And then if there's a balance at the end of the year, which there has been in the past, you have the right to apply for a certain percent of that, correct?
No.
Up to $250,000.
No.
Well, it was my understanding, Joe, that that's not only what it's used for. It's used for a lot of other things, right, Mary Pat?
They decided to earmark $500 million out of it. $5 million, sorry. $5 million. I know, I'm sorry. They earmarked $5 million from each year's budget to go back to municipalities, and it doesn't have to do.
Why was there $5 million?
Because I think part of it, as I remember, my recollection is part of the concern was not every municipality in the county has multiple farms for sale, for purchase, and that certain portions of the county may be receiving farmland preservation monies over and over again, and in a county that's a municipality that's totally landlocked is getting nothing. And so part of the idea was, for fairness, we need to earmark part of these monies to go back for recreation use, because there's like municipalities, what comes to mind, like Maple Shade. Or a lot of riverfront communities are landlocked, and they will never see it if it's only spent on farm purchases. So the idea was to be more equitable. We take $5 million out of the budget and give it back to passive recreation grants to municipalities.
You're right, it is an ideological debate, because quite honestly, in Medford, the amount of money that you spent in open space was sort of senseless, because we have legislation in place in Medford that stops buildings. It's a sewer permit law that's been held up in the Supreme Court. So you spent a ton of money preserving open space that was going to be preserved anyway. We appreciate your efforts, because we do like to see the open space, but we already had legislation in place to protect it.
But
And
at the
this
end
is
of the
all,
day,
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
but part of the open space preservation is that farmers who may not be allowed to sell and develop lose out on property gain because they have been X'd out of being able to develop it. So the open space allows a farmer to receive payment in an amount that would be comparable to what they would get if it was
Completely understand your
developed.
point, but again, an ideological debate, I think, is a big waste of money. That's my opinion.
And that's when it was put on for referendum to vote on. Is it an ideological, how many, there are more people in the other
Respectfully, we're
camp.
going down the road that, quite honestly, is an ideological debate that we don't agree.
Right, and
Okay.
it's,
And it was put up for vote, and that's the way the vote came. My point is, I think it's a waste of money. This is public comment, I can make.
and that's, you're totally entitled.
And heading in the next direction into the library tax is what I was leading into, is that in the library tax, the gentleman at the end said you can't commingle funds, but quite honestly, the library tax hasn't had commingled funds. We've taken the excess money library tax and paid other bills with it.
I'm sorry, such as,
We've had excess money in the past where we've helped the balance the Burlington County budget before.
there have, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There was an article in the paper that was by an ex-freeholder that said that there was money that was used to balance the budget. There was an excess amount of money from the Burlington County library tax.
No.
It's the administrative charge that they keep referring to.
There are indirect costs that the county bears on behalf of the library that the library pays back to the
Okay.
county.
So heading in my direction to Mr. Lovell's end is that if there's X amount of money that's left at the end of the year in surplus, why again doesn't it get granted back to the township that pays it?
You're talking about library surplus?
Sure.
They don't have much of a surplus.
There's been as much as $1 million in the past. There's $250,000, I think, was the last.
And you're also obligated under law to keep a certain amount of surplus as a
Mhm.
public entity. So you can't
But
just grant
it's
surplus
been
back.
used, as Mr. Love said, for administrative costs before. And why are we collecting this money that we have to ask for the money back?
You're saying,
talking about two entirely different
Yeah.
things.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Well, just 1 second. I understand where you're coming from, saying you're asking for the money back on the open space, and I get that. I don't get where you're going with the library. What money are you asking for back?
why do I have to, if there's a surplus of money at all, why, in any of these programs, why do I have to ask for the money back? I mean, realistically, if we run a surplus on anything, it should come back to the taxpayers in the portion that is paid.
Well, philosophically, I love what you said. I'd love to agree with you and be completely irresponsible.
It'd be irresponsible, why?
Because if we had nothing in the bank, at the end of January.
I'm not saying not to have anything in the bank.
That's a surplus. The way state law works, Edward, everything over 1 penny, we budget to spend $2 million. If we spend $1,999,999.99 and we have 1 cent left over, that is surplus.
True. I agree with you.
That 250,000 you're referring to, that may be all of the surplus. So who makes the determination? The state does, as to what an appropriate surplus is.
That's my next question. What is that for?
The state makes that determination.
And how much is it?
It runs, for school district, I think it's less than 2 at this point in time. For us,
This is a surplus system, I guess I'm asking you guys.
We're less than 5.
Which equates to how many dollars?
10 million at the end of the year?
10 million.
It's a county surplus.
And anything over that?
What's a payroll?
3.2 million.
And what is, what do you do if you have over more than 10 million?
Carries over.
We can carry it, but we can manage it into our next budget also.
But why wouldn't you send it back? Just send it.
Because then we just got, look,
I understand the question.
Well,
and in a way.
the money we've had in surplus in Eastern Township when I was deputy mayor there, okay? Let's say we have a budget, X amount of dollars, and then the guys are frugal all during the year, and they're not spending that money, okay? Well, that money automatically goes forward to the following year, so that we start with the next year with that much less money, so that way we take a look at our budget, and hopefully that money going forward keeps us flat in taxes or less in taxes the following year. So, and then you always keep a little bit in reserve because you have to have something in reserve in case something goes astronomically wrong. So you always take that money and carry it forward to help with your next budget. I mean, that's just, and that happens in corporations, that happens in
that's
school
not necessarily
districts.
true, Mr. Allen. I mean, it doesn't happen in a corporation. My corporation, when we make money, the stockholders get money. I mean, we pay out dividends. I mean, so don't say that it happens in corporations, that's just not
But in the
actually
public,
correct.
in the public entity,
Well, he gave me an
carry-
example,
I'm
which is
sorry.
not correct.
Not all corporations have stock owners either.
But, I mean, do people take profits?
The reality in the public entity is you can move surplus over into your next budget, so you keep your taxes flat or you cut them.
Mm-hmm.
And the county has a history of cutting
Perfect
taxes.
answer, Mr. Harder.
And-
Yours are heading next. As Mr. Love said, if we're having surpluses, why don't we cut the tax?
We
We
have
have cut
cut
the
it
tax.
many years in a row.
This one tax, for example, will generate enough revenue for Medford to cure some of its ills.
Which tax are you referring to?
The open space tax.
Okay, so if we were to cut that tax by a penny, that tax dollar, that revenue does not go to the county, it goes back to the individual homeowner.
Sure. Which then Medford Township can decide if they want to use that, to not change the overall tax dollars and not to generate the same amount of revenue, to use it to give you your better library.
Well, over the last 4 years, how many pennies have we cut from the county budget? Taxes. I understand that, but we still have cut taxes to be able to give that money back to those residents, correct?
And I appreciate those efforts, don't get me wrong. I'm just asking, I mean, if the open space tax is, can be cut to 3 cents again, why not?
So, yeah, but that money doesn't go back to Medford.
It goes back to the taxpayers.
Correct.
Who then at some point, they say we want to fund a better library, which is what you ultimately would like to see.
Medford will still be constrained by the tax laws that apply with the 2% cap. So unless Medford goes out for a referendum seeking to raise taxes for the library purpose, it's not that you can take money from the county and have the taxpayers in Medford then transfer that money to the municipality without the municipality having to necessarily take steps in that regard.
I'm not a fan of the Burlington County library system, but I can tell you, if the people in Medford are willing to go to a referendum to pay for trash, I think they're probably willing to pay for a library.
And that's probably something you have to take up with the Medford Township Committee.
And it was on.
And the penny might go a long way in doing it.
That was, building the library was on the 2002. We had that question in Medford in 2002, and it passed, and unfortunately, Medford wasn't able to move forward. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to find a resolution here that is for the benefit of everyone.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any further public comments?
Did you give me that letter? I don't see that.
It's attached to the back of the agreement, and if it's not there, please see me after.
Well, I don't have anything. Maybe I left it up there.
I handed you the agreement, correct?
I think it's in your stack, Mr.
No.
See me after, we'll make sure you
Yeah, okay,
have one.
that's fine.
Seeing no further comments.
Thank you.
Closing motion. Oh, Louis, I'm sorry. You did. Put your hand up so we can.
I got a question on for the beam of the 5-foot bike paths, right across the street from Burlington. Some of them have been damaged, and some of them later have been damaged again. What's the cause of this time?
Damage to what? I'm sorry.
To the beam.
Guy rail. Well, someone hit it.
Sorry?
My assumption is that someone would have hit it.
You know the cause of it?
Contact with the vehicle. That's what I'm saying. Someone hit it.
I know, I was, on that day, I was working, I said, okay. The next day, I just see the old man bits. And
Truck hit it.
Oh,
Or car hit it.
what was the cause of fixing it the previous?
I don't know. Mr. Brickley, do you have that information for you?
I do not, but normally the guide rail is a routine maintenance. If it's damaged or if it's an accident, it's reported. We would go after the vehicle operator's insurance company to get the money. We haven't done any guide rail projects recently because of the weather.
What's the cause of this repair, do you know?
I don't know what the cost to repair. Do you have any idea what the cost of a linear foot of guide rail is?
No, sir.
All right. Install, no, I'm not being smart. I mean, that's typically how they would price it out. But I don't know what it is. We can find out what the replacement cost is.
Yes, so what we would do is we would go and fix it, and then we would call the insurance company of the person that hit it, and we would ask them to reimburse us, give us the money back, so it's zero net cost to us to fix it. Yeah, hopefully. But it's close to zero as we can get.
Okay, I just want to know that. I think question for, what's the status of the review of the library for Mount Holly, Mount Holly Library, you know the status of the review?
I'm going out tomorrow to walk through it and talk with the library director and hear
With
what's going on.
Rebecca O'Harris?
I'm sorry, his name is in an email, I cannot recall it at the moment.
Oh, she's on the library committee.
Yes, it's either the president or someone from the committee that I'll be meeting with and talking with and touring the library.
I would like to get the information. People, you know, especially people like my mom, she goes walk, you know what I mean, over there, and she, you know, from the Spanish road. And she go, I mean, go back, I think that people don't have a car and go to the, you know, the library does is go to West Hampton. It's not a good way for a disabled or elderly man to just walk over there. But, you know, I would like to see some, you know, these are like, okay, space credit something, I mean, it's a very low cost, I mean, versus, I mean, you know, other counties. Our second question is, why did the change order from number 21 to number 2?
Why is it called number 2?
Yeah.
Because it's a second change order.
What's the first one?
First one was voted several months ago. Mr. Brickley, do you want that information?
It was, I don't have it.
And my second comment is, what's the between the prayer from, I don't know, I actually, you know, on my own, what's the between the prayer from right here, from the Freeholder and the prayer from the Mount Holly Township, trying to, you know, create the same environment as you Freeholder, you know what I mean? Like the same strategy now, you know, praising Legion, you know, and moral silence. And that has no conflict, you know what I mean?
You're looking for the words of it?
There shouldn't be no conflict, I mean, or, you know, having new procedures out there, you know, the central run, you know, the
Mount Holly's meetings are separate from our meetings.
I'm just talking about the prayer ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it shouldn't be no conflict, I mean, I have no conflict having, you know, prayer in my own time too. The second is, I hear a lot of stories, you know, about the Medford Library. Even there was a story came out, like people talking about the Spanish version. People come out there, I mean, I'm not from there, I mean, but I have people go over there, Spanish people, you know, Hispanic. I mean, that's it. If you go to a Freeholder, you mean, anything I'm saying, I'm not, you know, I'm not Medford resident, but people would like to see, you know, that open. The second question is, you're gonna, I'm gonna ask him, it's a question for the health department. There, if you see any, like new cases, I see like new cases of storage or something like that. I know there's several countries, there's been, you know, new types. The health department had any, update to the
SARS.
stores.
Any SARS? No.
I see new case, new case in spraying around, you know, Europe, Africa, you know, Paris. You know, it happened right here. I mean, that's real deadly, you know, stuff. And and who will receive my application for that searching service so I could move on. And the last comment is for each trees of Burlington County take off, we must send to a different county or the same county?
Largely the same community.
The same community.
Largely.
And like I said, I do record, the Freeholder meeting just to let people know. And a question for the other three Freeholders for all all three. Do you have like a Facebook to connect with other people what's going on? Just only Freeholders and Burlington, they got Facebook. They let the people know what's going on.
The county has a Facebook page now.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, one question I forgot to ask. Still giving up the $250 recreation center, $250 recreation for the country county? That's still going on?
$250 for what?
I know West Hampton got it for that. West Hampton got it, like in the last year, $250 recreation center.
Yes.
It's still going up for this year?
Well, it hasn't gone out for this year, but yes, we have done it. We did it as recently as last year.
Is that still going on?
The application, that's not going to happen yet. The board hasn't decided on that yet.
You know when?
I'll let you know as soon as the board knows.
Like I said, we are, I'm proud, we have a new mayor, new deputy mayor. We trying to create a new safe environment for people. And we trying to create a recreation centers, find about how to give more life to my life, put back in the man. Thank you, appreciate it for the comments and taking the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Hearing none, I'll close this portion of the public and move on to Freeholder comments. Really short.
I have a very nice tour, thank you, Kevin. Amy and I went to the owners and to the 911 center, and I'd like you to know that I spent 20 minutes as an EMT, and I was very impressed. And I want to assure everybody that the county is in excellent hands, thank you. And your staff also. Very nice too.
Thank you, Freeholder Schwartz. Freeholder Bellegarde.
Yes, thank you. And thanks to everyone for all the tours of the departments that we've been doing. I definitely echo Joanne in that there's really so much that goes on in this county that, until I took the tours, I didn't understand the full capacity of all that we do in the county. It's really pretty amazing. So, I also want to thank Steve Stern, who videotaped our last regular meeting for us, and then my friend John French, who's videoing for us tonight. That video will be on YouTube within the next couple days. It's my understanding that we're now reaching out to BCC to try to continue with the videotaping process, and hopefully we can do that. I've also reached out to a number of municipalities who are interested in potentially broadcasting the videos in the future on public access TV. Freeholder Schwartz talked to folks in Willingboro, and they'd be interested. Maple Shade is potentially interested. Burlington Township is looking into it. Delran would be interested in putting it on their website. Bordentown Township might be interested if they go with public access in the future. So I think there is a real interest in there for people out there, for people to be able to see the Freeholder meeting. So I'm really excited about this process. I also wanted to address tonight, I have a serious concern with regard to the loss of another assistant prosecutor in the county. On February 1st, we lost a 7-year veteran assistant prosecutor in this county. He cited his departure relating to the substandard wages, the lack of contract negotiation, as well as the departure of a number of other seasoned assistant prosecutors within the county. And he feels that the county at this point just is not interested in protecting victims of crime, which is, I think, becoming a real concern in this county. I'm very concerned about the safety of Burlington County residents if we continue on this path, because who's going to try the rape and murder cases if we continue to lose assistant prosecutors in this county? As an attorney myself, I can tell you that as a first-year law student, I would not have wanted to try a rape or murder case, and those are not the type of attorneys that I want handling these cases on our behalf. I think we need to really work on sitting down with the assistant prosecutors and resolving the contract dispute. I think that there are other contracts in this county that similarly need to be looked at. Folks that have been working for the county for years that have been working without a contract, and we really need to push up our sleeves and work in that regard. Unfortunately, I don't have any current information regarding the state of negotiations with regard to the contracts. On January 30th, I sent Mr. Drayton an email asking for a synopsis, status, and all pertinent documentation regarding employee contract negotiations for all contracts that have been expired but have not been resolved or ratified, that are going to expire this year and or that are currently being negotiated. By the end of that week, I received from Mr. Drayton a list of 10 bargaining units and some very brief notes that were along the lines of nothing to report. Unfortunately, because I'm a new freeholder, nothing new to report does not have much meaning to me. In fact, it's completely meaningless. So I've requested copies of all the contracts, all memos, reports, minutes relating to negotiations, arbitrations, discussions, meeting to date, all arbitration submissions and awards, and that was back on, oh, I don't have the date, but anyway, it was well over a week ago, and I still have not received anything, so I'm hoping to receive that soon, and you know, I'd like to ask Mr. Drayton, when can I expect to receive this information?
I haven't seen a copy of that Freeholder, and Daniel Hornicle, who is our director of HR, keeps track of that information. It's not in this week. As soon as he returns, I will talk to him and we'll get that information to you right away.
Okay, that's great. Additionally, I'm going to need a list of all the dates and times of all the labor subcommittee meetings. I did send an email in that regard as well. I need those, all the meetings for the remainder of the year of the labor subcommittee, and I'm specifically requesting that public notice be given for those meetings, as I do intend to attend the same. Finally, in happier news, I would like to suggest that as we continue with our transparency plan, that the freeholders take on a Meet the Freeholders program, where we go out in pairs throughout the county to meet with members of the public, maybe at the libraries or local malls, to see what the public's needs are so that we can better address them. You know, we give the public an opportunity to come to the meetings, but if we can also go out and meet the constituents on a regular basis, I think it would be a great way for us to find out how we can better serve the public. And I'm hoping that maybe the Freeholder Board can take this on as a whole, and it's something we can move forward with in the future. So I've talked already too long on a very long meeting night. So thank you for listening to me.
Joe, can I just discuss one issue quickly? The assistant prosecutor position. We met with Prosecutor Bernardi last week. The position that you talked about that has become vacated has been filled.
Right.
Bob promoted someone into that position, and during the course of our discussion, Bob felt very comfortable where the level of staffing was, how his office was operating, that we backfilled a number of senior positions in his office, and he is up to the full complement of staffing that he's requested from the county, and did not make any comments whatsoever regarding a concern about the health, safety, or welfare of county residents, and that was the prosecutor.
Okay, and I thank you for that. I was at the budget meeting last year when it was addressed that we have the lowest paid assistant prosecutors in the state of New Jersey. I sat here out in the audience and I watched the Burlington County Bar Association get up and address it. I watched members of the defense bar and public defenders get up and address. These are people that are adversaries to the assistant prosecutors who are here fighting for their adversaries because it's become such a grave concern in this county. So I do appreciate that, and you know, it does give me some sense of comfort, but I think that I'm not going to have that sense of comfort for much longer as we continue to see assistant prosecutors fleeing the county, going to neighboring counties like Camden County to continue their prosecutorial careers, because that's what they have a passion for, but they cannot continue to do it here at the low rates that they're being paid. And I think, you know, all they're asking for is a chance to be heard and a chance to sit at the table and negotiate a contract that they've been without for a number of years now, and I think we owe it to them to do that.
And we are negotiating.
That's all.
Thank you everyone for coming out and seeing the attendance already to participate. I can't tell if there's ice or snow. Be very careful on your way home, and may everyone arrive
thank everyone for coming. Thank you, Mr. Cameron, for what he did this evening, and congratulations to him on winning the scholarship from PSE&G, the New Jersey Association of Counties. And I guess I agree with Freeholder Belgard, but I think it's a different level. I think it's our responsibility to be out among the residents of the county at different events, and God knows with a couple of kids, I'm out all the time at softball games, soccer games, things like that. So at least I feel I have the luxury of meeting folks on a fairly regular basis, but I would encourage every one of my fellow freeholders to go out and meet people when they can. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Freeholder Howard, is there a second? Second by Freeholder Carter. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions?